Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm your host, Carol Kahn. We are coming to you live from the Sedona Rouge Hotel and Spa. Sedona Rouge is one of our sponsors, along with Broadcast Rentals and Sedona Advertising Agency. We'd like to thank our sponsors for participating in this year's festival. And this festival is a filmmakers festival, so I want to welcome Nate Duncan.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And your film, The Interview.
Yes.
Correct?
That's
Yes.
correct. That's my
So,
film.
is this your first time in Sedona?
It is. It is my very first time in Sedona, and I've heard so many amazing things, and I'm glad that I finally got to experience it on my own.
So basically, then there's talk in Hollywood about us, right?
Probably. There's going to be definitely when I go back. I'm sure there's a lot of talk about you, but it's just this place is so magical, and it's one of those things where people tell you about it, and then until you actually get to experience the beauty, it's breathtaking.
Yeah, it is definitely a magical place.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your film, The Interview.
So my film, The Interview, it's about a guy named Michael who goes on a very important job interview and gets asked a series of tough questions to figure out exactly how he got to the financial success that he's at the current level. And then it forces him to reflect back on his life, and you see that certain choices led to maybe business success, but he jeopardized relationships with friends and families and loved ones to get there. And if he had made different decisions, his life would basically be in a much different place right now, and he's trying to figure out what, was it worth all those sacrifices that he made before to get to where he's at?
Now, was that based on personal experiences that maybe you have thought about, or was this based on anything?
No, it wasn't based on any personal experience or anything like that, but I think a lot of people, at least that I know, or at least I know at an earlier point in my life, I was struggling, trying to figure out what I was passionate about and what I wanted to do. And I feel like that can be a thing that a lot of people struggle with, and you kind of get steered down a way of what you think might be the best path for you, and many times people don't get a chance to kind of reflect back on the things that they were really passionate about, and that's why that was the purpose of kind of creating this film initially.
Well, I think a lot of times people, when they're looking for a path, if you will, they look outside instead of looking within.
Within, yeah.
So
I'd agree
it's a
with
little
that.
bit different.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the clip and we'll talk more.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Please have a seat. Are you ready to start?
Yeah.
This interview should be fairly simple. I just have a few questions I'd like to ask. It's so that we can get to know you a little more and also to potentially determine where we could place you within our organization.
Okay.
If there was one thing you could change about yourself, what would it be?
So how'd it go?
That's pretty amazing,
No,
right?
thank you.
So if there is one thing that you can change in your life, what would that be?
I would say probably being less distracted. I feel like at many times I've maybe been on my phone too much or paid attention to social media and maybe not spent as much quality time with my mom or my wife. And I've kind of been off social media because of that for the most part and just trying to connect better with people. And I found myself to be very distracted by many things, so I'm trying to be less distracted, more focused and connected.
You know, sometimes I think it's really hard. You know, we go through life, there's not really one thing. There's never really one thing.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
true.
lots of things.
There's multiple things. Yeah.
You're going to start breaking them down.
Yeah. I definitely have multiple things. I'm sure my wife would say that as well. But that might be on the top of the list.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was your biggest takeaway from doing a film like this?
Well, my biggest takeaway, in all honesty, was how amazing a lot of the people around me are. I called in a lot of favors for this film, not thinking that, I was very hesitant also, just not thinking that people would be interested or willing to help. And I was very fortunate to have the entire cast and crew donate their time. Even Ray Wise, who is an incredible, very well-established actor, did the same thing. And because of those sacrifices, it made this project a possibility. And I'm incredibly grateful for that.
Well, and we also noticed when we were looking at this little clip that it was filled, the whole screen was filled with film festivals.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with the success of the film, and people have responded very well, which is great. But the biggest takeaway is a lot of the audience's reaction to the end of the film. Those are kind of the biggest. Better than any of the laurels that we've received is to hear all the positive feedback that we've gotten from audience members of how the film affected them.
Mm-hmm. And you're an actor.
I am.
So how, as far as transitioning to producing a film, why is that important to you?
Well, I feel like, especially these days, a lot of actors are sitting, or at least I know myself, and how I got involved in filmmaking in the first place was many actors, you're sitting around and you're waiting for a perfect role to come your way. And many times you can be waiting for a very long time. So the reason I kind of got into filmmaking, writing, directing, producing, was I wanted to take more control of my career. And I found that writing my own projects where I was able to do that. And I started off in comedy and had a lot of fun doing so. And it was very easy to kind of jump back and forth from being a director to an actor in comedies. This was much harder because it was a drama, so it's I found it harder, much more of a harder transition to go from an actor to a director. But I always like to try to challenge myself and to, become a better filmmaker, actor, and I feel learning as much behind the camera, it's going to make me a better actor, and same thing vice versa.
Right. And actually, but being an actor, you're actually given lines that you have to say on film, and then now being the producer and writer, you have to write the lines.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it to actually write dialogue?
Well, for me, I find it very easy. I'm sure everybody's process is different, but what I typically do is I will think about a project for a long time and have different ideas, script them out. And after I've thought about it for a while, and sometimes it could be a few days, sometimes it might even be a few months, it just kind of depends on the idea, I'll sit down and I'll write out a draft typically pretty quickly, within a few hours. Then of course there's revisions, but I've already thought about the project, and I've already kind of filmed it in my head, if that makes sense. So I already know, for the most part, the dialogue and how I want to shoot it, but then, we always go through rewrites, but that's at least my process.
Well, and as an artist, there's always, I think, there's fear. There's always fear.
Yeah.
Were you ever afraid or to take a step or take a risk?
Oh, of course, because you're putting yourself out there, and I was asking a lot of my cast and crew to donate their time and energy, which isn't easy. They all had very busy schedules. So my fear was creating a project that, wasn't up to the standards that I felt they deserved. And I think you all, and I can't speak for everybody, but I know for myself, I started a project very excited with this vision that I want. And then you start to begin filming, and then you're stressed out because they're very long days, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna, and you don't get all the things that you want, and then you try to salvage it. And then I feel like sometimes at the end, at least for my shoots, I'm like, do we have anything? Is this anything good? And then you're just hopeful that you can salvage it in the editing room, and then you've seen it so many times, you just become numb to it, and you're like, is this good? I don't know. And then, but this is why I love coming to film festivals, because you really get to see how the audience reacts to the film, because I've seen it so many times. I literally become numb to it, so I'm not sure if it's good or not. So to see the audience's reactions, I love it.
Great. And has your film been shown yet here in Sedona?
It has not. So our first screening is today at 1:30, Thursday 1:30, or 1 o'clock, so in about 30 minutes. And then also Saturday at 7 o'clock, we're part of the Shorts Block 2 at the Harkins Theater 1.
Well, great, Nate. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank
Can't
you.
wait to hear about audience reaction. I know we can't keep you here. I'd keep you here all day if I could.
I would be opposed to that.
But I'm going to have to let you go for 5 minutes. And then also just your website or information where people can find out more about your film.
Yeah, so my website is just nateduncan.com, my name. And then the film, we have a Facebook page, which is The Interview Short Film 2019. And then we also have an Instagram page, which is just The Interview Short Film.
Great. And then you're going to post for us too, right?
Yes, if I'm allowed to photo, okay, then yes,
you are allowed.
Yes.
You're allowed several
I'm gonna
photos.
post.
I want you
yes,
to be posting all the rest of the week, not just today.
I will definitely do that.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us
Thank
and
you for
following
having me.
us on social media. It's #Sedona Film Fest 2020 and #Sedona Film Fest 26. We'll be back with more interviews from filmmakers right after this.